If you remember Dr. Jones piloting a flying saucer, getting squished by a big roller, and endlessly falling down a waterfall, then you played LEGO Indiana Jones 2, but which one? Because there were 2 different versions released across 7 different platforms, and in this video we're going to compare each of them. But first, let's set the scene. Released in 2008, LEGO Indiana Jones The Original Adventures was TT Games' first foray outside the Star Wars license. The game sold well and quickly became a fan favorite, opening the floodgates for more LEGO games. That same year, Lucasfilm released Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the first Indiana Jones movie in almost 2 decades, which TT decided to use as a basis for a sequel. So, how well did it fare compared to the original? Well, let's start by taking a look at the flagship version released for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii, PC, and Mac. And straight away we can see a major departure from the original. Instead of the classic central hub connecting the story levels, LEGO Indy 2 is broken up into a bunch of different playsets, each with its own hub and story levels. We have 3 playsets dedicated to the Crystal Skull and 3 to the original trilogy. So let's start with the former. At first, the gameplay seems very similar to the first game. Indy still has his trademark whip, which he can use to smack everybody around him and swing across openings. The game is still filled with the trademark LEGO humor and of course plenty of Easter eggs. This was also the first LEGO game to introduce the split screen feature for co-op play. And speaking of co-op, who the hell is this supposed to be? Right, apparently he's the janitor. Well, Dr. Jones and the janitor escape the evil Soviets only to end up in Doomtown, the test site for an atomic bomb. Indy hides in the fridge, which is blasted all the way back to his university. And I also like how if you come back to Doomtown after the explosion, the mannequins have all been turned into zombies. The next level centers around the big brawl in the diner, which seems to be filled with LEGO Harrys and Rons beating each other up. This is followed by a level where Indy and Mud chase the bad guys around campus, and I must say the vehicle controls in this game aren't the best. The final level of this playset is the boss battle on the train. Now, the second Crystal Skull playset takes place in Peru, and I know a lot of people have issues with these mini hub zones, but I've always liked all the different vehicles that you can drive and fly. Look at poor Mud. No, Dad, come back, don't leave me again! Also, Indy can't land the plane, he just jumps out and abandons it. I guess it must be an homage to the Temple of Doom. These hub zones still function as a way to connect the story levels, but this game also turns them into their own little levels with obstacles and unlockables. For example, once you get the Crystal Skull, you can use it to get past the bugs. The story levels themselves are a lot shorter than in the first game, usually taking place in a single area or room. In this playset, we start with the asylum level with the crazy nun, then the gravesite with these creepy fellas. Indy and Mud then reunite with Marion, and the entire family have a great little bonding moment as they beat up waves and waves of Soviet soldiers. This is followed by another vehicle mission, this time mowing down bad guys in this tractor of death. This playset also ends with a boss battle where you have to take on the killer ants who turn into a giant. Remember that in the movie? The last playset of the Crystal Skull takes place in the Mayan temple area, where Dr. Jones can whiz around in a literal flying saucer. And at this point, you realize that each playset follows the same blueprint for the story levels. You get a classic style level with some puzzles and building, then a vehicle level, followed by a small boss fight, then a level where you fight waves of enemies, and a final level consisting of a giant boss fight, in this case the evil Soviet lady who gets imbued with the big lightning and levitation powers from the Crystal Skull. And that's it for the 4th movie. But each of the original films also gets a playset with 5 story levels. And these hub zones are some of my favorites in the game. Each one looks like a little diorama consisting of key locations from the movie. Look, in Raiders you can run from the market all the way to the Himalayas. The first movie starts with a boss fight against Tok. It's similar to the first game, but this time he's using the Staff of Ra to shoot lasers at Indy from above. This is followed by the market level, which is another brawler mission, then a level down in the Well of Souls. Unlike the original, which was comprised of multiple sections, this all takes place in the single tomb and focuses on the Staff of Ra puzzle. This is followed by a vehicle mission, and then a giant boss fight against Belloc, who gets powers from the Ark and becomes huge. Next up is the Temple of Doom, which has another great hub zone filled with all the vehicles the characters use throughout the movie. Unfortunately, the story levels themselves are quite formulaic. We start with a vehicle level in Lao, then a classic style level in the village, then a brawl in the palace, followed by a boss level at the temple, and finally a giant boss level. Did I miss a special edition version of the Temple Temple of Doom, which ends with Indy throwing bottles of water at a giant flaming monster and Short Round having to climb inside it. And finally, we have the Last Crusade, where you can fly the blimp across the entire hub zone. Look, we've got all your favorite locations from the movie, like the streets of Venice, the Austrian castle, the nondescript building in Berlin during the late 30s. We start with the boss battle on the ship during the storm, and for some reason Sulla's there as well. We then get a classic style level where Indy and his father have to escape the flaming room, then a brawl level in Berlin. Looks like Indy really wasn't happy with these German folks burning some books. Interesting racing stripes on the banners up above. They kind of remind me of something. We then get another vehicle mission, and then a final level in the temple. It starts with you doing a few puzzles similar to the original game, but then Donovan turns into, you guessed it, another giant boss that you have to fight. Meanwhile, the Grail Knight finally gets to leave the temple, hop on a plane, and go on the mother of all vacations. I may have made that last bit up. Okay, so that's it for the story levels, but naturally, LEGO Indiana Jones 2 also contains a bunch of bonus levels in addition to all the expected collectibles, mini-kits, and custom characters. There is also a LEGO Creator feature, which lets you build your own little level similar to the old LEGO Creator Harry Potter games. This was a really fun little feature, and I was always disappointed it didn't get implemented into more classic LEGO games. Okay, so that's it for the flagship game, but there was also a completely different version developed for the PSP and DS. The story actually starts after the events of the Crystal Skull, with Indy and Marion en route to their honeymoon on a tropical island. Unfortunately, they just so happen to be on a plane with every Indiana Jones villain ever on board. There's a big tussle, and the plane ends up crash landing on the honeymoon island, which is used as the game's main hub. Now, the story levels are presented in the form of pages from Indy's diary. Each of the villains has one, and you must do their challenge in exchange for the page. It's a pretty novel approach to the established LEGO formula. Oh no, Marion's been squashed. Not a great start to the honeymoon, is it? There are a total of 12 story levels, and unlike the flagship, they are all based on the Crystal Skull. And these levels are also much closer to the traditional LEGO formula. They're much longer and involve you solving puzzles, building sets, and doing an occasional mini-game. In fact, some levels actually feel a bit stretched to make up for the lack of content from the original trilogy. For example, the Doomtown level actually starts in the mountains. Wait, is that Short Round? No, apparently it's the warehouse keeper. Yep, nothing to see here folks, just Indiana Jones picking up a grown man like a piece of luggage. You make your way through the mountains and then end up in Han Solo's farm. Look, I'm not sure what Han's been feeding these sheep, but they look more like tiny ice cream vans. The farm does lead to Doomtown itself, where Indy and the warehouse keeper have to push some cars, beat up some soldiers, and mow the lawn before escaping in the fridge. This game is very much a sequel to the original LEGO Indiana Jones on the Nintendo DS, and just like that game, there is a strong emphasis on character class-based abilities. Plus, they love to do the old Uncharted boost in this one. Also, the first half of the Asylum level just has Indy and Mutt sorting their luggage out. Marion, I don't think throwing bottles at this death machine is gonna work. We're gonna need something bigger. Nothing to see here, folks, just a 60-year-old man endlessly falling down a waterfall, upside down. Now, the original trilogy is not completely absent from this version of the game because there are a bunch of challenge levels based on the first 3 movies. These are essentially mini-games that focus on famous moments and big set pieces like the boulder escape. Some of these standout challenges include Monkey Business, where you play as the evil monkey and everything around you is huge. There's also Crusher Chaos, where Indy is on a giant treadmill trying to escape from this roller, and the Rope Bridge Rumble, where Indy has to keep climbing while avoiding the bad guys falling to their death. There are also some Crystal Skull-based challenges like this Mutt swinging sequence, and the aliens trying to chase these pesky Soviets off their ship. And so there we have it, LEGO Indiana Jones 2, a tale of 2 distinct versions. We have the console game, which deviated from the established LEGO formula, and the handheld game, which is a bit more traditional. The overall consensus from the fandom seems to be that the console version of the second game is inferior to the original. People weren't really fans of this new hub structure, plus the levels were pretty short and often formulaic. In fact, there are many people who prefer the handheld version of LEGO Indiana Jones 2 to the flagship. But which version did you prefer? Please leave a comment below with your thoughts and let me know which LEGO game you'd like to see me cover in the future. As always, thanks for watching. Please consider supporting me on Patreon, and a big thanks to all my existing patrons. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.